Good afternoon. Well. What tangled webs we weave in this corona situation that we're in. I've been looking at the news this morning in response to queries that I've received online regarding home education. My biggest response would be right now, we need to keep the kids in some sort of routine. So instead of pushing ourselves through and making home education seem like it's more than it actually is, more than a happy learning process, we should be telling them actually it's the Easter holidays, because it is the Easter holidays. It's Easter Sunday this weekend. It's Good Friday on Friday. We should not still be pushing home education at this point, because they wouldn't if they were at school. They would be having a lovely time at home with you. So that's what they should be doing right now. However, as I said, I've been reading up on the news, and what the news has as a new thing today is that, sorry, lost my train of thought for a minute there. What the news has as a new thing today is that Sweden, who had originally not gone into lockdown, has today started thinking about going into lockdown, which is interesting, really, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, how does that actually bring any secure closure for the rest of us? If some countries have had there's obviously going to be difference in timing, because some countries started their lockdown before others. But at the end of the day, if there's people who haven't caught it yet and people out there who have caught it already, and this mismatch of people and lockdown is restricted, then you end up in a position where you have to consider re-locking down, like Japan. This is a worry for me, because how do we regain the minds of our kids? Because let's face it, already we have a situation in which we've been sending them to school and they've been happily being at school. And then we've said, actually, you can't go to school and you can't play with your friends because we're all in lockdown. Fair enough. Most kids will accept that. But then the UK government is currently saying a couple of weeks after the Easter holidays, we may be able to get them back to school, but we'll still have countries with people travelling as the restrictions are lifted, with people who are still contagious. It's a worry, because what do we do? Do we send them back to school and then have them have to not go to school again, a re-lockdown, or do we wait it out? Because it is uncomfortable, of course it is. We want a return to separate duties. We want to be a parent, or we want to be a teacher. Yes, there's some of us, as I always say, like me, who's a parent and a teacher. But for those of us who are not both, you probably want to just not play bad cop, good cop, but to actually just be a parent or a teacher. Not all of this back and forth. It has been said in China, where restrictions were lifted quite a lot quite recently, there has been a case of reinfections coming through. It's quite a lot of uncertainty. In Sweden, even though they put in social distancing, but they didn't do a lockdown, they've had 477 deaths and now are considering lockdown at this stage. Yes, we've had quite a deadly day here, but we're nowhere near the next 10 days, which should show us at the peak. I don't know. What do you think? I think we should wait it out a little bit longer until we can say with some certainty so that our kids' minds can then just learn to be kids again. Rock on through the rocky times, the uncertainty, the worry. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but isn't it better that they have some sort of certainty in mind? Like, even if we said schools would reopen in June, but then again, we also need to consider, when we say things will start going back to normal, people will still have to wear masks and gloves. Would this be happening in schools? For teachers, because teachers are so important, key workers. They relate to each other as well as the kids. It's all a bit it's all a bit disorganized at the moment. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I just thought that I'd bring it to your attention so that you can start thinking about it as well. What is it that you would ideally like to see? What is it that would make you more comfortable in relation to this virus? Because it's so deadly. It's a worry, and because it's been around for what seems like ages now, it's even more of a worry. Let's have a little think about it, and I will come back and talk to you again tomorrow. I'll be looking at it this afternoon quite closely, though, because I've got an 8-year-old who's longing to go back to school, but I've got a 22-year-old who's had a final year and graduation, etc., messed up by its existence. Have a good afternoon in the meantime, and see you again soon.